Welcome back, guys. This is Mary Hodges, co-founder of Lean Legal, and we are here for the training series 4 Steps to Using Independent Contractors in Your Business. And today we are going to be going over step 1 from the 4-step guide. So step 1 is to make sure the contractor is truly in business for himself or herself. And this step really lends itself both to economic dependence and control. And that's because a contractor that does operate their own business is typically not going to be economically dependent on your company. They'll have other clients. They may sell services directly to the public, or they may, operate as a contractor for various other companies, whatever the case may be. And a contractor that also has their own business is not going to be required to be under the supervision and control like an employee would be. So the ideal situation is that before you bring on a contractor, you'll want to do your due diligence, and you'll want to ask questions like, does the contractor have an LLC or corporation? Or do they have an assumed business name if they're a sole proprietor? Do they market services to the general public, or they provide those contracting services to other companies? And then how does the contractor market those services? Do they have their own website, business cards, something that will essentially distinguish the contractor's business from yours? Does the contractor have his or her own office space, carry business insurance? Do they use their own employees or maybe their own subcontractors? So those are the types of questions that you should ask from the beginning. And so you can really make a determination as, does this person really have their own business? Because if they don't, then that's going to be a risk that a government agency or a court could later come back and say, well, they were totally economically dependent on you. They were an employee. So now that you know what types of questions to ask, we've created an independent contractor business questionnaire for your convenience. And you can download that now underneath the video. And you should complete this questionnaire for each contractor. And like I said, it's ideal if you do this before you bring the contractor on. But if you already have contractors, you'll want them to fill this out and get it back to you so that you can kind of look to see whether the people you're using currently have their own businesses. And then that can help you determine whether or not these are people you need to be using as contractors in the future. And of course, you'll want to keep your records of these answers. And just an additional tidbit here, when you're keeping contractor records, you should have these records kind of looped in together with your other vendor files. You should not create an employment file for a contractor. I mean, you don't want to mix this in with your other employee files either. And, another reason that keeping records is so crucial is because all it takes to, get this issue looked into for businesses often is they'll, have an agreement with the contractor, maybe those services ends, and the contractor makes a claim for unemployment or something like that. And they, that State Department has to look into whether that person was an employee or a contractor. And then sometimes that's where some of these audits can happen. And so if you're keeping these records, you basically have something to say, no, look, this person has their own business. I looked into it before we started even working together. And then you'll have, some form of evidence to show that you actually made a reasonable effort to make sure this person had their own business and to establish them as a contractor, because that could totally help down the line. Sometimes businesses, intentionally try to use contractors instead of employees to avoid employment taxes. And you want to show that this was something from the beginning that you tried to do right, that you made a reasonable effort doing. So download that questionnaire. You can use that with your contractors to kind of keep track of those answers and make the analysis of whether that person actually has their own business. All right, that was quick and easy. So for the next video, we are going to be covering why you need to avoid using contractors on a full-time basis. So I will see you guys tomorrow.